Final Fantasy XIII is a polarizing game. But then again, every Final Fantasy game is polarizing. This is the series whose biggest fans regularly debate which games they hate the most and are the worst game ever made. Of course, FF13 is often at or near the top of these worst games ever lists because, more so than any other title in the series, its detractors have set the tone for the game's reception and ensured its bad reputation would persist for the long term. But this video is not about 13's bad reputation. It's about how that reputation affected its successors. It is uncontroversial to say that Final Fantasy XIII has its flaws, but the reason we know precisely what those flaws are is because of the game's sequel, Final Fantasy XIV. I mean, Final Fantasy XIII-2, because apparently that's how this series names its sequels. So here's the thing. I'm not here to talk about what FF13 did right. I actually think it's a very well-crafted game, but I've already gone over all of that before in videos you probably don't want to watch. So tonight I'm going to talk about what it did wrong, and more importantly, how these problems were addressed in its sequel. So 13-2 was an opportunity for Square Enix to do right with FF13, and that started with fixing all the things that didn't work. Then they followed up by changing things simply because they could. Square wouldn't be okay with making just 20 more hours of Final Fantasy XIII. They wanted to do something more than that. They wanted to do something different, and so they went about making something different. And they ended up with this. Final Fantasy XIII-2 is something every sequel should be, something even standalone games fail to be, unique. See, I think this game would have been much more successful if only it were a standalone game, if it had escaped from 13's, let's say, reputation, and was able to stand on its own merits. I mean, it's still fine as an FF13 sequel, even though it retroactively changes that game's ending to be kinda bad. And FF13-3 doesn't really tie up any of the loose ends this game creates or explain what happens to Caius or the world in great detail, but you know what? That's an episode of a different deep dive that I'm not gonna get into right now. So where were we? Right. In tonight's deep dive, I'm going to talk in depth about how to make a good sequel featuring Final Fantasy XIII-2. Step 1! Fix your shit! Final Fantasy XIII had a number of problems. Glaring, frustrating problems. So 13-2 took all of those, collected them together, and shoved them out the window. Check this out. So for your first paradigm shift every combat, you have to endure this seemingly endless animation for it, which is more than just annoying. It actively disincentivized freely switching your paradigms, which happens to be a central part of the strategy of this game. So how did they fix it in the sequel? Bam! Every single shift is seamless and quick. You hit it, you're switched, and you're back to shooting spitballs at a flan, or whatever it is you need to be doing with your life. Not gonna judge. Speaking of saving time, we have preemptive strikes. Now in the original, you have to sit here and watch lightning give the little poke to every single one of them before you can actually get on with going on with the actual... In 13-2, you just do a blitz attack and everything is hit. That's it. We just hit it and we're back to playing the game. No mess, no fuss, super easy. I can't believe they didn't do that the first time around. Next up, the game changed its linear structure for a more open-ended one, and, let me be real with you, this wasn't really a flaw of the original, but y'all complain so damn much they did it anyways. Now you get to do things in whatever order you want, and if you don't know what to do next, you gotta figure it out, because apparently making games with a linear story is just the worst possible thing you can do. Releasing 7 special editions of the same game? Bad. Loot boxes? Ooh, super bad. Making a linear narrative worst game ever! Look, there's a ton of small fixes to the system that just make it more enjoyable to play. You can switch your player character in combat so you don't get a game over when they die. The saboteurs get the wound command so they don't stand around like a moron when all their buffs are attached. They've actually integrated side quests into the story and take time to explain what the hell is going on, so you don't spend the first 15 hours confused and scared, hiding under the couch wondering what the hell any of this means and what the hell a fal'Cie is or why everyone doesn't just explain a damn...
If we can find one, we might be able to use it to open the gate. Then we could cross time and travel to Lightning's world.
Thank you, Noel, for, actually telling me a thing so I know what's going on. It's like storytelling 101. Let your audience know what's going on. There's no and there. Just do it. Just tell me what's happening! Of course, it's not simply enough to just take the old system, throw some patches over it, and call it a day. Yeah, you gotta fix what's broken, but you also gotta change some other things that do work because... Step 2! Have at least one new idea.
Final Fantasy XIII-2. The story so far.
So, a big problem of a lot of video game sequels is why would I play Battle of Duty 13 when I could just keep playing Battle Duty 10-2? Solution? Have some creativity! Put in a Pokemon catching aspect to the game. Hey, now that Pokemon are in them, give them special abilities to replace those extremely underwhelming techniques you had in the last one. Don't want battles going too long, give enemies attacks that sap your max HP. Change the Crystarium so that people have nearly full control of the way they develop their characters. Nobody liked the old Crystarium anyways. Add in new characters, add in time travel. Hell, change the whole damn tone of the game. No more, I control my fate, fight against tyranny, and win in the end. No, your sister's gone, your fiance's gone, and all of humanity will be wiped out in the near future. Good luck! So despite the fact that I think 13-2's story is actually a bit weaker than the original, its storytelling is miles better. They've made sure that every element of this game isn't just telling you the story, it has some storytelling function. The area descriptions don't just tell you what's going on, they actively change to reinforce the game's main theme. They've given the main characters a personal relationship with the main antagonist so that he can actually be a fleshed out character with motivations and goals. Nobody knows what the hell Bartandalus was up to or why Orphan was such a whiny bitch, because it wasn't really important, because they didn't make it important. Here, they made sure to tell you why Caius was doing what he was doing. He tells you why he's doing it. You can't miss it. And most importantly, they've taken one of the most problematic parts of time travel narratives and faced it head on by including paradoxes as a central part of the story.
If you change the future, you change the past.
What the hell does that mean? Wait, isn't this supposed to be the opposite of that? Wait, why are all these descriptions changing? Wait a second, what's... Warning. Spoilers ahead, but this show is a deep critical analysis of the game, so I'm not sure what else you would expect. So one of this game's greatest strengths is the fact that it doesn't have a happy ending. The bad guy wins, and it's ambiguous to what extent he's the only one at fault here. Is Etros at fault for what happened? How much is Sarah at fault? Is this actually nobody's fault in the end? The game establishes the illusion of choice, the idea that you can fix things if only you try hard enough, and then it throws that in your face. So few games have the courage to have the heroes lose. It seems like every video game is about watching your characters win over and over again. Well, guess what? If you 100% the game to get the secret ending that the game tells you to look for, Caius just makes fun of you for trying so hard to save what's already broken. You think you can change the past and the future like that? Come on! Who do you think you are? Step 3. Make a good fuck! So this is a big problem in the games industry as a whole. Sequels of popular games are often made sloppily or Oh, sorry, I got Star Wars Battlefront 2 caught in my throat. And sure, they're guaranteed to make money by cashing in on the popularity of the original and stuff, but they also do irreparable damage to your brands and strain the loyalties of your fan base.
They're anachronisms, relics of a different world. Basically, things that don't belong in your time.
That's why it's so important for sequels to be ambitious. They can't just be more of the same, they need to take risks, and although not all the ambitious aspects of this game or any game will be hits, it's still a unique and captivating experience, one that's quite unlike any other Final Fantasy game or any other video game for that matter. If you do everything safely, you end up with Assassin's Creed 5, now with more creeds, and you didn't get that with 13-2. You got something that took a new idea and ran all the way with it, all the way, maybe don't go that, and it's gone. Oh boy. And perhaps that's the reason why I think this game would have been better if it weren't related to Final Fantasy XIII at all. The fact that it was so different. To risk undermining the entire point I'm trying to make, it might have gone too far in changing up from the predecessor to the point where if you actually liked the original, there's a more than likely chance that the sequel wasn't your cup of tea. And if you hated the original, you would have never even given the sequel a chance. But you should give it a chance. Though the game's story and structure can be a bit hard to follow, there's a lot about this game that is worth experiencing, especially if you enjoy stories with a strong character focus, great music, exploration-based gameplay, and a game that explores the paradox that can come up when you mix time travel with future sight.
If you change the future, you change the past. You can remold history as your heart desires.
Oh, I get it.